guys, Double Wide 6, and today what I'm doing is I'm putting a tongue toolbox out here on my trailer. I just picked up this tongue box over at Harbor Freight. It's a bigger one. It was about $100 with the coupon, and has automatic lid opener, nice space, good welds, nice paint, and really you can't go wrong getting it. And I'm figuring out how to fit this thing on my trailer so I can actually put a winch in it. The winch I'm putting in is a 1,200-pound winch, and I've made the decision not to wire it to my truck. I'm just going to run it off a standalone battery. So I laid out on the back of the box what needs to be cut, and I'm just going to try and cut it the best I can with my grinder. It's killing me to cut through this brand new toolbox, but I don't really know a better way to do this. Here's how I plan on doing this. I put this cross member across. It's a piece of a shelf, kind of an industrial shelf. It's about 1/8 inch thick, and I had to widen some holes and drill a hole in this over here, just barely caught. And this metal is super hard. I think they punched these holes through it, and the metal is just really difficult to drill. But what this should do is it should prevent the box from wanting to slide back towards the trailer. And I cut a notch here, a little hard to see, on each side, and I've set it up so that the metal will fit in here. This is actually a T-shaped piece of metal, and I'm going to weld this in here. And what the thinking is that this should hold the box from sliding back. The box itself is pretty thick. I'm not sure what gauge steel it is, but it's fairly thick. I'm surprised it's such good quality. And in order to prevent the entire box from slipping back or bending, what I did is I cut a piece of plywood that fits in the box. And because of the, what is that thing, a trapezoid shape, I had to cut the plywood about 1 inch short just so that it would fit in here. And now the plywood will be pushing against the entire length of the box, and against that metal cross brace. So that's kind of where I'm at. I got to get that piece welded, and I guess get the winch in there and get that bolted into the plywood through the box. So I'm just getting everything set up here to weld, and I'm grinding off some paint. Grinder isn't bad. I got it off Amazon. It was only like 16 bucks. Figured it's easier to have another grinder than changing out the blades and stuff. I'll put a link in the description if you're interested. I don't know if the price is going to be that low anymore. I thought about how I want to weld this, and I have a wire welder and an arc welder, but I decided to arc weld it to get a little bit deeper penetration. Well guys, it's day 2 here, and I'll tell you what, yesterday was pretty hot outside and it feels a lot better this morning. You can see I have the box mounted here, the hole in the back with the winch cable coming through. There's a lot of sawdust on there from cutting the plywood, and if we look in the box, up top I have the remote control, and then down in here I've fit the winch. You can see it's a very snug fit, which is good. I don't need to put any metal brackets or anything to keep the battery from sliding around or the control box. Everything is fitting in here pretty good. I have a little extra room for storage. The plastic box, the controller box, can be mounted on top of these rods here, but the way I have it in the box here, it doesn't quite fit. So I'm going to keep it here, and that gives me a little spot for the plug-in remote control. But I'm real happy with the way everything's fitting and the look of it. So far so good. The winch comes with this roller feed mechanism, and what my plan is to bring that over to the other side of the trailer where those holes were. That's where I had my spare tire, so I'm gonna have to move my spare tire. Well, I'm playing around testing this out, and they give you, I don't know the specs, but the cable's got to be 80 feet. I don't know, it's pretty long, it might be 100. And it's such a long cable that when it spools up, it's hard to spool the whole thing. So I'm going to cut like at least 30 feet off of this thing. So I found a piece of brass pipe that's about the right diameter, and right here is where this project's going to get pretty interesting. I'm going to try and make a cable end. I wish I had a tool to do this, but I don't. And that's how it ties onto the winch. It has like a little end that bolts on. So I'm going to drill a hole in that, and we'll try and crimp this. I looked it up in the manual, and the winch rope, the steel cable's 24 meters. So I ended up cutting off about 25 foot, and that leaves me with about 50 feet. So that's plenty of room. You can see this is wound all the way up. I got the tractor here I'm testing out on sucked right up to the front, and that'll give you an idea. There's kind of that window going through there. And the nice thing about this unit is it has a plug-in hardwired remote control. So if you hit out, it'll go backwards. And if you hit in, it'll bring it right up. Now the other nice feature to this particular winch is that it has a remote control. So this works pretty well when sitting on a tractor that you're pulling in. Another nice thing about this winch is you can engage it by locking this in or disengage it. And I found if you're going to unwind the cable, it's best to just put on disengage and get out and pull on the cable, and that'll wind it backwards. And hey, Maddie.
Hello, Dad.
And this right here is the end that I made, and you can just see how that attaches there. And then once the cable wraps around itself, you don't have to worry about it letting go. In fact, they only had a small screw holding that in place. Here's a look at the distance I can pull. This is 50 foot, and you got to keep in mind I'm not hooked up to my trailer, so I really can't pull much weight at this point. But this thing's 12,000 pounds, so it would pull anything. I'm not going to be putting vehicles on this trailer, it's not even big enough, but 1,000-pound tractor, flat tires, things like that, this should do the trick. So here's the handheld remote, which is nice because you can get back here and steer a tractor, and it's real simple. So here we go. I like the way it pulls it right up, and the equipment's locked down. That's not going anywhere, so that's pretty nice too. I think when I don't have a tractor on here, what I'll do is I'll bring it down to this D-link that I put on my trailer. So that's the unit, and I think it's going to be a pretty good winch for me. It's going to do everything and then some for me for sure. I'll put some links in the description where you can see the winch that I actually bought, and I'll also put a link to the toolbox I used to store the winch and the battery in. One other thing that I did is when I bought the battery, I put the same size battery that goes in my truck. So that way, if my truck battery dies, I can switch it up. And, I wanted to make sure I had a big battery. So, I just got the same size as my truck, which worked out well. Except that, if you use like a tractor battery, it has bolts you could put through. I had to end up using hose clamps to tie on the power. The other way to do it is just use alligator clips and hook it up when you need it. So anyhow, I'm Double Wide 6. If you liked the video, please give it a thumbs up. Thanks for watching, guys, and have a good day.